So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about artifacts. It's a question I get asked a lot. Right here, I just wanted to show you your lineups matter with what artifacts you're using. All right, so these first two lineups here, they're lineups that I use for everyday attack. One has Marlin, the other one has Caelyn, and that helps preserve the energy. The other three lineups, right, I have this is my World Boss lineup, and then I just switch in my SOW, my Son of War, and my Simone into lineup 3 for whenever I do World Boss, and then I switch them back to lineups 1 and 2 respectively. Alright, so we'll go in here and we'll just talk about who you should use or what artifacts you should use for what hero and why. So the first artifact we're going to talk about is Flint Legacy. All right, this is one of the most important normal artifacts that you'll get in the game. And the biggest reason is this right here at level 25. When a critical hit is triggered, normal attack damage is increased by 25% for 2 turns, stacking up to 100%. All right, so Renault, Son of War, his barrage that he starts the battle with counts as normal attacks, and all those missiles count as normal attacks, so they quickly bring his attack rate to plus 100%. In addition, you can see here his ability Rhythm of Rhyme lets him start the battle with 30% additional critical attack. All right, so that with his other abilities and then the critical hit, right, from the actual the additional critical from the Flint Legacy, right, gives him over 50% critical attack just to start with, and then you add into his banner, his war banner, his exclusive weapon, which gives an additional, right, 60% crit rate in the first 3 rounds. So basically he's at 110% plus crit rate in those first 3 rounds, which means he's going to instantly get to 100% attack power pretty much every time he barrages, right? And then after the first 3 rounds, he'll still be at over 50% crit rate, so it'll more than likely proc up to 100%. And then it's also good, you know, to potentially throw some crit gems on his armor pieces as well, just to boost that crit up a little more. Or you could do crit damage too, or attack just to give him more attack, right? But that's Flint Legacy, right? Son of War is the primary character you're going to use it on. Now, you really want to use it on Son of War if he's got a 30 exclusive, right? If it's below a 30 exclusive, it's still probably best for him, right? But the other one that you can use it on is Caelyn, right? And the reason that you would use it on Caelyn is because she has a bunch of follow-up attacks, right? Her exclusive does damage reduction. She gets those bunch of follow-up attacks, right? Help her get that boost up quicker, and then she also gains crit, right, with her Starfall skill. So she's a secondary character. You can use it on it if you don't have a really strong Son of War. All right, so then another artifact, right, we're going to talk about here is Core's Module. So this is pretty much a pay artifact. You have a very slim chance of getting an artifact chest, but if you paid for it, right, it's one of the best artifacts in the game. And the reason is because it has speed on it initially, right? None of the abilities here really actually matter that much to the actual artifact and who you put it on. And the reason I say that is because you really just want the speed on it. So one of the better champions or heroes to use it on is Reaper, right? And the reason that you would use it on Reaper is because of, right, that starting all allies will get 25 speed in the first 5 rounds. So you want to boost his speed up as much as possible, right? So for heroes weapons, I have plus 7 speed on his weapon, and then plus 10 speed on his boots, right? And then plus the Core's Module, right, which allows him to get up to 449 speed. And then the idea is hopefully right? Once I level this up, it'll be much higher. The idea is that he gets his round before SOW. It gives everyone else on your team a speed boost to beat SOW's initial round, right, or initial barrage, so that at least they get off their passive defensive boosts or whatever other boosts, right? Or that your SOW gets off his barrage before the enemy team's SOW. The other champions that you could use this on is SOW for the same reason. You're just trying to get your SOW a higher speed than the enemy's SOW so that you get your barrage off first and hopefully wipe their team or wipe their SOW before he gets a shield, and then your SOW would get a shield before theirs, so that whenever his SOW barrages, your SOW doesn't take any damage. And then the third character that it works really well on, right, it's going to be Daisy. And you're really only going to use it on Daisy if you have her exclusive to level 30, because at the initial round, as long as she's not CC'd, right, she'll give her ultimate buff, which is the immunity / revive for the whole team, in addition to a 15% damage reduction for 2 rounds. All right, the reason that you'd have it on her is so that she would get her ultimate buff off, giving everyone immunity and damage reduction, right, before anyone had a chance to CC her. And in addition, the idea would be to get her buff off before SOW's barrage. So even if their SOW hits barrage before your SOW, your team will have that passive revive / immunity in case he kills off any of your teammates. Plus, will have damage reduction, so you should survive that initial barrage. And then it will give her that second round, will heal up and give immunity to 2 more people. And then keep your team healthy so that hopefully you can win out the overall fight. So those are the 3 people that you would use core module on, right, typically speaking. So another one we're going to talk about is Cursed Fang, right? So right here we have Cursed Fang. This is another based off of the number of attacks, right, that you get. And it increases their attack per attack. So the best person to use this on is obviously Caelyn, right? Just because she gets those follow-through attacks. All right, other heroes that you could use it on, right, would be Cantor for his firebomb, like his Nirvana attack. But those are really the 2 main that you would want to use Cursed Fang on. I haven't leveled it up, so I haven't been able to test it on somebody like SOWs and SOW to see if it's more. But with the 100% attack that he gets pretty much right off the bat, right, this makes it way better than Cursed Fang or any amounts of stacks that it can get. All right, so the next one that we're going to talk about, all right, is another solo artifact I don't have, but this is another top tier solo artifact, right, is going to be Power Grip. So this is one that if it is at level 20 or higher, can replace Flint Legacy. Now the reason I say 120 or higher is because of the cap of the attacks. All right, so at the start of the battle, it increases wear attack by 10%, and then each time an ally uses a normal attack or active skill, it increases the wearer's attack by 4%, up to a maximum of 120. This weapon is really good on the world boss, right? You could use it on SOW and then put Flint Legacy or Cursed Fang on Caelyn, and then she would get all those follow-up attacks, right, would stack up really quickly. Plus you would have those other heroes in your lineup, right, like Ivy, who's going to do those pursuit additional attacks each round, which will allow you to stack this Power Grip up very quickly, right? But if you can't hit the 120 cap, right, if you're only at a maximum of 90, right, then the Flint Legacy is going to be a better option overall. All right, so then some other general runs, right, going back to the ones that you get at the start of the game. Talk really quick about Frost Legacy, right? So here we're going to just talk about the max troop capacity, right, in addition to the health. So the health still matters, and the troop capacity only affects certain events, right? It's not going to affect PE or some of the PvP events that you'll be involved with. But the main reason you want this is for the calm, right? Or that additional health in addition to recovering some health at the end of each turn, right? I put this on Natasha just because it makes her a little tankier, right? And then here we have Thunder's Engraving. This is a super great healing, so anyone that uses heals, right, increases the restorative effects. The big thing here is damage reduction, right? So you want to put it on someone that you're also trying to keep alive, right, and the calm. So you could also put it on Natasha, right, if you're trying to keep Natasha alive. I switch it to Simone for World Boss. She's a really great healer, right, and trying to keep her alive. Anyone that you either want to keep alive or anyone that you want to tap into their additional healing effects is going to be a great person to use that on, right? Another person, if you're kind of newer or don't have super powered up champions, that is actually really good for is Martina, right? Because she has that self-healing, and then it'll help her stay alive to stack those defense reduction buffs, right? Another really good one here, Thunder's Legacy. I just use this on Cantor primarily, and then when I switch it out, I'll just put it on any boss. The bonus damage is really helpful for his Phoenix attack, right, to build up that damage for the follow-on Fireball. Any hero that you have a lot of critical hit rate with, also, this can be very good. This can be good on Caelyn as well, right? But you can kind of just fit this in anywhere that anyone that's going to do damage. The biggest thing you're looking for here is at 25, right? Your cogs receive 20% attack power when the enemy number of enemy heroes is less than 4, right? So this is a really good world boss weapon, right, that helps you hit additional power levels really for your SOW or your Caelyn, depending on who your primary damage dealer is in that fight. All right, so we're going to switch here, right? We're going to talk about Micro Star Collapse, right? Most of the people on our server have Micro Star Collapse, Curse Fang, right? And I'll talk about the third, Lunar, that most people on our server have. And I'm not going to get into too much of the other ones, otherwise this video would end up being like 2 hours long if I talked about all the artifacts. All right, so this one here is pretty simple, just damage reduction. It's very similar to, right, the Frost Legacy and the fact that it has attack and calm, right? So somebody that is a damage dealer that you want to give a little more survivability to is somebody that's really good to put this on, right? So I put it on Caelyn, it gives her a little extra health, right? And then she gives the entire increases damage reduction by 15% for all allies, right? And then at 30, right, to give you immunity. You could also use this on Marlin, or you could fit it really in anywhere in your battle lineup that you wanted to. If you have it, especially if you have it leveled up to at least 20 or even 10, the damage reduction is a great team boost for your entire team. If you haven't, I highly recommend using it in all your lineups. All right, so then the other Lunar that pretty much everyone on our server has, or not everyone, sorry, a lot of people on our server have, between Cursed Fang, Micro Star is Everwinter Melody, right? This one is another attack calm, so you could use it the same as Micro Star or the Frost Legacy, right? To give your to give somebody a little more tankiness, a little more health, right? That's why I have it on Marlin, right? And you could also use this on somebody like Caelyn or Natasha as well, right? When they cast that active skill, I kind of call it the ultimate because that's what makes the most sense to me. So when they cast their ultimate, it's going to grant a shield that's up to 20% of their attack power. So this is really good on anybody that has a strong, right, ultimate or active skill that's going to hit a lot of people. It's really not, the shield's not that great on Marlin. It does give him a little more tankiness. I mostly just have it for the calm, and then that little bit of extra shield does help a little bit. Other people that you could use it on, right, that it's really effective for is going to be your Natasha, right? Her active skill is pretty strong. It does a decent amount of damage. You give her an additional shield. You could use it for Cantor. another good one to use it for is Vivian, because she does that active skill that first round. So that first round, and it's a pretty decent amount of damage, it's going to give her a pretty decent shield, right? And then anyone else that has a pretty good active skill, other people that you can kind of weave it into, right? Constantine, because he could get multiple hits. Norton, his active skill is actually pretty strong, right? But it doesn't really matter where you put it at. You're looking at that attack calm, sort of like Frost Legacy, right? And Microstar. So you're just kind of trying to use those stats to buff it. Another one we'll talk about really quick is Flint Engraving. So this is one that I kind of thought at first to power up really quickly. And I thought it would be the best for SOW, right? Because he has that shield initially. So I thought, okay, when your health is higher than 80%, which, you know, for that first round it is because he's got that shield, yeah, he gets more attack and greater crit chance. So I'm like, this is going to be the best item for SOW. And then I learned with those multiple barrage hits, the stacking up to 100% attack power, that was way better. This is another one. If you have lunars or other things, this is kind of a throwaway one that you could put on a secondary lineup, all right, or follow-on lineups. It's one that's pretty good for Vivian for the same reasons that I said the melody was pretty good for her, right? She gets that initial active skill or ultimate that first round, right? When she's going to be likely at full health or over 80%, right? And it's going to increase her attack power, and that what's going to do more damage, right? So that's one that you can kind of use it on, and you can just kind of figure out any hero that has a decent amount of speed, some backline heroes that you could use it on, right? And that you just want that have a decent active skill, you know, somebody even like Caelyn or Natasha or anyone that's doing damage from the back line, right? Even somebody like Daryl, right? Or Hannah, right? Depending on who you have in your lineup. More than likely, like I said, you're probably just going to be using it in your secondary lineup, or initially it's pretty good on Vivian early on in the game. So those are some of the main artifacts that you'll be using throughout the game, right? There's a couple other ones out there, right, that we'll talk about. Really, Frost Engraving, right? This is a decent one. This is another one that's kind of a throwaway, unfortunately. Not that it's not good, right? But just for me, the ability to get that extra health was better than putting out extra damage from a critical rate, right? Because for this, he gained critical rate in the round after performing a normal attack, and then they also get damage in the next round if the normal attack does not deal a critical hit, right? So you can kind of throw it on anyone. I've used it on Caelyn in World Boss before I got Curse Fang, and it was actually really pretty decent with her. So that's always an option that you can use it on. But for the most part, I prefer to have a little more tankiness to my main lineup. That way they can get out CC and stuff a little longer, right? So then it's just been kind of a throwaway or a secondary artifact for me. So then let's just go back really quick to my lineup, and I'll talk about kind of how I have my main line set up, right? And those artifacts, right, with the SOW, right? And this doesn't matter as much because we're talking about PvE, so we're talking about attacks, right? Disarray attacks and, you know, rallies and stuff like that. But hopefully that gives you kind of a base idea of, right, what artifacts you should be looking at and where you should be looking at using them, right? You really want to, I'll say, kind of crunch the numbers based off of what you're trying to get after. If you have a strong CC lineup, you really want more tankiness on those CC champions so they have more chance of getting out CC so they don't die as fast. All right, if you have a more attack heavy lineup, then you might want more attack centric, right? Artifacts that kind of push that damage out faster, right? So then here's another one that quite a bit of people have. Spirit Scout just kind of can serve the same purpose as Everstar or any of the other ones, right? Offering that damage reduction and calm, right? Gives you a lot of health. And then it restores troop capacity. That's going to be really good for any of those events or any of those things that actually have troops involved in them. So like your rallies, disarrays, attacks within the server, not like the PvP arena type attacks, but PvP within the server, or those cross server events will help restore some of those troops. But once again, the biggest thing you're looking at here, or that you would be looking at here for Spirit Scout, is that the common and the damage reduction, put it on a hero like Natasha or Caelyn, or somebody that's going to give you a little longer lifespan on them, to hopefully get out more CC throughout the fight. So hopefully you can kind of just look at any of the artifacts and kind of base off, kind of some of the information, and then number crunch. There's a bunch of different artifacts out here, right, that haven't been released or haven't come out yet, right? I've seen Sonic Burst. I've seen people use Sonic Burst on SOW, right? I've seen them used on a bunch of different people. If you're ever confused about an artifact, one of the best ways to test them out is during those wish trial events. You can get unlimited number of attacks on the world boss, and you can just kind of switch artifacts around, keeping in mind that world boss damage is kind of random. There could be up to a 1 trillion difference damage, based off how strong your team is. Or even more, the further along your teams get and the more bonuses and stuff you have. So just keep that in mind too, but you can kind of swap around different stuff in there. But hopefully that gives you some of the ideas of the main artifacts that you should use in your lineup, and how to switch them around, kind of if you get stuck on it.